Welcome. Let's play Rule the Waves 2 as France, starting in 1920. We've come into 1925, and I just want to have a quick look at how we're doing, both against my original 1920 plan and against the 3-year plan I've just developed. So here, ticks all along, we're really just down at the bottom level. The Taj class is happily building. We've got one of the two Marseilles instead of replacing some light cruisers. Really, the only black mark is I need to refit some of these old obsolescent destroyers that are costing me an unnecessary amount of maintenance. Have a look at here at my 3-year plan. 1 year in, the Ducan is underway, my indulgent ship. We have the first of the Marseilles building. We're not going to build a Taj because we now have double turrets on light cruisers. So we're going to redesign the 6,000 ton light cruiser mark and see what we get for that. And I would definitely like to get these Harpon destroyers underway as well. But all in all, I'm pretty pleased, and I think this year should rattle along pretty well. Here's the fleet. Let's just crack on. The Italians want to sell us the rights to 14-inch guns. No, we've so moved beyond 14-inch guns. Thank you very much, Italy. Now, I did notice I have a little bit of a monthly balance now, and I thought, well, what could I do with that? And I probably could build a light cruiser for that, maybe a little bit into minus numbers, or I could have a look at the Harpon class, which I quite fancy. So it's got 4 5-inch guns in the center line, fore and aft. It's got 8 torpedoes. Yeah, it could have more. It's 34 knots. I've had to push up the engine priority to speed. A medium anti-aircraft fit. Obviously, eventually, these 5 inches will become dual purpose. I'm pretty happy with it. It costs 6,137, and I had a quick flick through and I noticed that in all the other yards it costs the same, except for America, where it costs only 5,893. That's the equivalent of getting a free destroyer when you build 20, or half a free destroyer when you build 10. I quite like that idea. It's a fair chunk of money. But unfortunately, America is at tension level 5 with us at the moment, and it wouldn't take much to nudge it into the point where America would just seize any destroyers that we were building with them, which would be a bad idea. So it's back home to our more inefficient ways. Also, you may have noticed the weight remaining had gone up to 25 from 9 if I built it in America. So let's set this one off to design and then see if we can start that program going. Hey, that's why my budget had gone down. Completely forgot about the world economic slump. Thank goodness that's over. And our budget is going to go from 327 to... Of course, we want to strengthen the Navy. Boom times. Oh, hang on. This is the railroady one, and long-term prosperity of the nation. Always pick long-term prosperity of the nation. It will give you a lift, and then every other increase in the economy is going to give that lift an extra lift on top. And let's see, can do 3 comfortably. So let's crack on with that. And the budget's increased to 332, so that's helpful. Which means I can go and get a few more Harpons. Under 3. Also, just have a little quick look if I can take some of these destroyers out of obsolescence. So if we have a look at the carbines, first of all, it's only going to cost 38 a month for 2 of them, even if we don't actually do anything. Oh, can I have dual purpose? I didn't think we could. No. Lots of problems with this ship. Obviously, I'm not going to change its engines to oil. It's overweight, it's got low ammo, and cramped accommodation. Design's not legal. Right. So actually, I can't modernize this, which is a great shame. Not sure what I can do about that other than scrap it or keep it going as obsolete. Okay, so I'm just going to run this in obsolescence. Let's see if I can do anything with this class. 900 tons. Okay, that's at least only -5 overweight. Costs 30, nothing much I want to do, except, well, if I got rid of this slightly useless centerline gun, I wouldn't really be able to do anything with the torpedoes. That's the only upgrade I'd like, really. So I'm just going to say no to that, and then bring that back up again, and just crack on. Yes, it's terrible. Thank you very much, Legacy Fleet. And then some of these tiddly destroyers. -30, so again, they're going to be illegal. Okay, so nothing I can do with them. There are some more of this class that I didn't notice. Okay, so that's got a nice big chunk of destroyers refitting, even if they're not the greatest. A new set of destroyers building. Pretty happy with that. Tensions not doing much at all. To technology. 2 of the targes are now complete. I'll just let them work up and then I'll put them into reserve. And all of our corvettes are doing their colonial thing, which is great. So we've just got the last 2 armoured cruisers returning from Southeast Asia and heading for the Mediterranean, and either mothballing or possibly even scrapping. With the Taj being commissioned, monthly balance has gone back up, so I can go in and do some more Harpon. There's 4 remaining, I might just do all of them. That's great. Is interested in buying shipboard aircraft operation? Well, yes. There's been a discussion in the thread around, is it wise to buy technology? Does it ruin your research? The consensus is that, at least from evidence from the fan wiki, is that it doesn't impact your research. So if you buy, I don't know, fire control, and you were nearly at the point of getting fire control, it doesn't ruin that, and you actually could get a new fire control on top of that if it's not too far advanced. I often just don't have the money, but I always sell unless I don't like them very much, because, you know, the money is good. Am I interested in a new flying boat? Heavy range, 145 to 154. It all feels a little bit of a marginal improvement. It's a shame that my reliability is poor. I have a lot in service and quite a few on stock, but this doesn't feel like it's good enough. I'm going to cancel that. However, that has made me think, aircraft types, I might want to revisit this. I have a lovely shiny new fighter, that's great. The flying boat I have is 1922, a little bit old in the tooth, but my torpedo bomber is quite old, so I'm going to request one of those. Let's go torpedo bomber. Let's emphasize range. I can't see it, there it is. And then reliability. I always emphasize reliability in these early planes because they're so unreliable. No point having them if they don't fly. Right, let's see what that comes up with. And into May. Finished working up. Must put it on reserved. Those are those rubbishy 900 tonners done. Another new technology. Let's put this first Taj into reserve. And the second one, actually, that's already at fair, so that can go into reserve as well. Monthly balance, 0. How optimum can you get? Private shipbuilding helping our dock size. I've sort of given up on the dock size race and will just use friendly states to help us. Headlines, threat, Soviet Union authorizes an increase in naval spending. Well, thank you very much. So we're going to go from 335 by, yes, yeah, we're friends with Japan. They love us. Now we can do 16-inch quality ones. I didn't see a big jump there, did you? Perhaps I spoke the wrong numbers. I'm dyslexic, and my ability to rearrange numbers that I see with my eyes and then say with my mouth through the medium of a confused brain is quite substantial. I do notice our monthly balance went from 0 to 1400, so there was a bit of a lift there. With this extra bounty, I'm going to modernize this class of destroyers if I can. -2, yeah, no, that looks fine. I'm not going to do. I could increase the fire control, but if I did, it would make it go from slightly overweight to actually overweight. So let's keep it cheap and nasty. Send those off. Those 5. That's all my destroyers modernized. These ones down here are too overweight, as are this entire class. So actually, annoyingly, 5 of them are going to become obsolescent and cost more. I might push them. No, I won't. I was going to push them into mothballs, but I'm aware that I'm quite close to my mothball limit. This just really leaves my cruisers who need some attention. So the surfaxes, for example. -28. I think it will allow me to do that. Yes. So let's do those 2. And into August, so another light cruiser commissioned and another breakthrough. The last 2 armoured cruisers, the bricks, have returned home. I'm just wondering if I can do anything with them. Yes, they've had a light refit, so I probably discounted what I could do if I replaced all the machinery and stuff. So the 25 knotters, take them up to the minimum 28. Okay, still 75 speed remaining. I could take them up to the minimum of 28 knots. It costs 27,000. You may recall that our Marseillaise cost 52,000. So that's slightly more than half the cost. So I could refit these 2, or I could just build another Marseillaise. I'm tempted not to invest in them any further. There's still jobbing cruisers that can go with the battle fleet. I wouldn't put them obviously with the scouting force. The battle generator may have other ideas, but I have Tortuga's fleet editor to sort out that kind of thing. And of course, in the expansion, which I have to say is looking more like Rule the Waves 3 and less like an expansion as they keep on adding new exciting features. Very excited by the creation of divisions that you can put your ships into, and also by commanding officers for your ships. So that may not be a problem in the future. Right, 2,251. This all seems to be going pretty well. What's going to be left? The last of my Tages is coming in, and just a few more months for the Ceefaxes, and indeed for the refitted destroyers, and then these new construction Harpons, 9 more months. Feels like time to either develop that Super Taj, the one with double 6-inch turrets, or order my second Marseillaise. So let's see if I can afford the Marseillaise. Yes, 2,180. Well, that's very nice. Random, okay. I should be more careful with my ship names. They can give them all sorts of odd, I'm going to say hard to pronounce names, but Jeanne d'Arc, I think I can manage. Excellent. So that's that one underway. You may notice that tensions have remained largely static. It's come ever so slightly down with the Russians, and then with everybody else, it's stayed a bit arsey. I don't know why. I mean, I've been nothing but nice to the Japanese. I've sold them technology. I'm building a prestige battlecruiser in their shipyards. So that's the last Taj. Unexpected developments in ASWK guns. That is a biggie. If my destroyer force weren't so rubbish, I would definitely have wanted to fit them out with K guns. I have to admit, I've forgotten or slipped under the radar the Trude class. Strangely Dutch sounding name. So there's one in the Mediterranean, but there's one still left in Southeast Asia. So let's just fix that. One in the Mediterranean. Let's see about a rebuild. Actually, there's a little trick here. You don't have to wait for the ship in Southeast Asia to travel all the way back. You can just rebuild or refit them and it will put them instantly into dockyard hands. Let's select both. They're obsolete. They're 1904. Well, that's interesting because they actually have double 6-inch guns, and forever they've had a big rate of fire penalty, but that's not true anymore. Let's see what we can do with them. So obviously change their engines. They're slightly overweight, 98 tons. Improve their fire control and improve their guns. So, okay. So if we do nothing, it's 750, give or take. Now let's just improve their guns only to level 0. We can make these dual purpose and we can give them a director. We could give them some semblance of anti-aircraft gun defense. Maybe not that much. We could delete their torpedoes as being rubbish and give them a modern set of torpedoes. That will make them more interesting. It does take us to 284, still within the 4 months. Now, if we took out some casemates, or actually let's take out these wing turrets. That takes us to 67. We have an improved director and increased elevation. Still need to give up something. And this is kind of, for me at least, the point at which I give up. I think, well, it's still overweight. I'm not going to replace the machinery. They're 23 knots. They've actually only achieved 21. Okay, if I did do that, make them into oil, turn the engine priority up to speed, I could get up to, well, I could get up to 28, but if I check, I'm sure the hull form, yeah, is limited to 26. I could only take them up to 26. It would cost way too much money. So I wonder if I can just scrap them. Harsh, but they are just lumbering 21 knot cruisers from a bygone age, and we don't need them for colonial, and they're not fit for service with the battle fleet. Yep. There you go. Bit of money. Problem solved. The Pascal here is needing a refit. Let's just open up that. Minus 17. I do believe almost every single legacy ship I have was built overweight. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I'm going to struggle to even refit this to anything that's helpful. With minus 17, they actually have no secondary armor whatsoever. So they simply have a couple of torpedo tubes either side and 5 6-inch guns. I'm just going to do an absolute minimum refit on that. And really seek to replace it in the 1930s. So looking at my fleet, I now have a couple of obsolete 12 inches in the Mediterranean in mothballs. Not sure if it's actually worth modernizing them. I mean, they are big. I've still got the 2 Montcalms, another relatively recent cruiser. Let's actually have a quick look at that. This is a 4-incher. No, and it's already overweight. No, and it's slow. Actually, I'm going to scrap this. This is just not good enough. Look at me in a scrapping mood. Yes, let's scrap that. And then finally, we have these Jean Bart, which we weren't super happy with before. 2 6-inch guns. A pile of 4-inch guns, which I would love to make dual purpose, but that would cost too much and is well overweight. Oof. I'm going to leave them as they are. I'm very unimpressed. What about this one? So at least this is considerably heavier. Of course, it's more overweight. But if I do that, increase the elevation, I'd have to lose a couple of 6-inch guns, or take off its torpedoes to balance it up, because well, it's only slightly overweight. Okay, let's do that. So now we have 1 class of battleship, 1 class of armoured cruiser, 1 class of light cruiser, and 2 classes of destroyers that are all eventually for the chop, and I'm not going to do any more work on them. Not that I wouldn't like to, but because I simply can't. They're just not in a good enough condition. And into October, so a couple of cruisers and 5 destroyers doing their thing. Japan's hosting a regatta. Normally I'd go for the win, but it's Japan. I want to be, I want to be sweetness and light to Japan. It would be lovely if my tension with Japan would go into the dark green. Let's see what sort of torpedo bomber we are looking at. Well, I did ask for reliability because my current torpedo bomber's reliability is poor. But, I don't know. Their figures are actually even, in some cases, slightly worse, or whether slightly better, it's ever so slightly better. So I'm minded not to. Into October, monthly balance is doing fine. Okay, let's have a little look at designing a light cruiser. What fun can we have here? The auto design can get a bit weird at this time. It seems to do really well in the early game and really fine in the late game, but we're at this crossover period, so it keeps on giving me things like these triple turrets, which I can't actually use because we haven't discovered triple turrets. So let's just try that one again. Right, hand tweak it. Okay, so this is a bit more like it. 8,500 is a bit large, or put another way, 36,000 is a bit expensive. I was looking for something more in the 30,000 mark. Let's bring the speed down because there are other cruisers that are at 31 knots at the moment, so no need to overdo that. Let's bring it down to 7,000 and see what we can do. Now the main armament, 8 6-inch guns, classic interwar light cruiser, nothing wrong with that. Ammo's fine. Secondary armament. 5-inch guns seem a bit heavy, and at the moment they are not dual capable, and 14 of them seems a bit much. So I'm going to bring them down to 4-inch, make them dual purpose, and just nudge them down. Okay, so 10 gives us weight remaining of 1. Okay, I like to have a little bit in reserve for improves of fire control, and radar is coming and all of that. I might bring that down to 8. 8 torpedo tubes. I'm going to consolidate these because that will free up anti-aircraft positions and actually freed up some weight as well. And we've got too many anti-air, so let's just bring that down a smidge. Let's max that. That all seems pretty good. Conning tower. Down to 2. Ideally, I would like a belt of 3. The reason being that it would give me some protection against other 6-inch gun ships, particularly because this is quality 0. I don't know if anybody else has quality 1 at the moment. Not Japan. So my choice is either to lower the combat effectiveness, so take away a couple of the secondary guns, maybe lose a couple of torpedoes, maybe shave off on the anti-aircraft, compromise the protection, which I'm not keen to, or increase the weight. If I take it up to 7,500, that gives us 44 remaining. Okay. It's a bit more expensive than what I'd hoped for at 31,500 rather than 30,000, but that seems pretty... Ooh, Victor Hugo, that seems like a nice name. Seems pretty good. Okay, so let's go with that, and all good. That's got that going. I also want to address my mine warfare situation. I was reading on the forum an interesting thread about the relationship between escorts on active fleet, protecting big ships, escorts on trade protection, protecting your merchant ships, and your mine warfare, which is done by area. And if we have a look, I have a mine laying capacity of 40 and a mine sweeping capacity of absolutely sweet FA. So that's a little bit of a neglect there. Let's go in and do ourselves a corvette. So when you do this through the auto design, you get a 600-ton corvette by default, but minesweeping ability increases with weight up to about 1,000 tons, much as it does for ASW. I don't really think there's any particular reason not to develop either a 1,000 or a 900-ton ship. So this looks pretty good. It's got good ASW. Yes, it's halved because it also has minesweeping, but it's still best to have as much as you can. Actually, I'm not sure about the AA armament because I don't think they really become targets of attacks whilst they're out with the active fleets patrolling around, nor on trade protection. The speed's a little bit high. I would take it down to 17, and that's decreased the cost from over 2,000 to 1,600. So that seems like a good saving. Interestingly, it's given it coal, and if I change to oil, it increases the price. I don't think we can have diesel. Diesel's even more expensive. So coal it is. 4-inch gun seems fine. I could put it on colonial just to give it flexibility as a secondary colonial corvette. Not that I'm really intending to put them there, but obviously with my colonial corvettes, some of them will get sunk or any of that kind of thing. So having a few extras who can fill in is not bad. So fuel oil, yeah. Fire control, not interested in fire control. Let's do that and get those underway. October feels like I'm finally through the end of readjusting my fleet, which is nice. There are still some obsolescent classes, but I very much doubt, aside perhaps from these two battleships, whether I'm going to modernize them at all. Let's move on. A fascist coup has taken place in Italy. Hello. That will make them a bit more bellicose, I assume. Finished working up, so they probably need to go into reserve. 18-inch guns, quality -1s. Ooh, how they tempt me. So let's get a few of these under construction. Let's do 10. And finally into December. Sharply rotated. Excuse me. We're only at low. Definitely the AI is trying to encourage me to have a little spat with England. Another tech. Do need to fiddle with those air bases. And let's go build one of these. I know it's a bit extravagant, but under construction, several of these are going to come free fairly soon, so that should be fine. And there we are. Let's have a little look at the year, and also let's have a little look at how light cruisers have gone, because I've just noticed there's a huge increase in their cost and their capability. We've been struggling with the budget, just keeping our heads above water all year long, so our funds have largely recovered a little bit, at least a little bit of wiggle room there, and our expenses has increased as well. So kind of a good economic year, but these 5 years have really been quite tight on the finance, and I think that's a classic for a 1920 start. You've got so much to do to sort out the appalling mess of your legacy fleet. It's been a good year for techs, as you can see, 6 of them. Not a great year for tension. No real specific events that have really mounted things up. And you can see here, aside from Britain, everything else is a bit meh, although friends with Japan, thank goodness. Nonetheless, our budget has recovered back to 355, which is similar to where we were at the very beginning of 1924, and that's because the economic slump has ended. It's been an amazingly productive time. Yes, we've scrapped 3 light cruisers that I got fed up with. We've finished off our first set of Taj light cruisers. The Ducan is chugging away in mid-build now. We've started 2 Marseillaises. We've got 10 new Great Destroyers and 10 new Minesweeper ASW ships, plus just started the Victor Hugo. And we've successfully refitted a number of the rest of the light cruisers and a fair chunk of the destroyer force. Tensions, as I said, still not great, but, you know, very much a good consolidating year. Thinking about these light cruisers, I've done a little comparison between our latest and greatest, the Victor Hugo, and the Jean Bart, where we're struggling really to find a significant role. But there's 4 of them, and they're still relatively modern, and I don't want to lose them before I can replace them with something better. Now you can see the weight has crept up 4,000 to 4,700 to 7,050. In fact, I've summarized this. There we go. The cost has increased almost double. We get 6 knots more speed for that, which is fine. We've got a completely new armor scheme from the traditional protected cruiser to the modern light cruiser. We've increased our main armament by 6. We have slightly less 4-inch secondary armament, but they're now dual purpose. And obviously, we have a far better anti-aircraft defense. And the number of torpedoes, well, with the Victor Hugos has increased by 4. We could have brought that up to a 16 torpedo battery and lost the mines, but that's a choice. A lot more cost, double, but a lot more capability. And that's a classic in Rule the Waves. And it has an implication, which is if it costs twice as much, you're probably only going to have half as many, unless your economy improves. And your economy will only improve gradually. For France, we're looking at about 1.7% increase every year. And if you defeat opponents, take their reparations, particularly, take their bits of colonial empire. So, yeah, it's going to be really important to see if we can't generate a war in 1926. I hope you join me for that. Bye for now. Stay safe.